Hey now, tomorrow is Father's Day, and my wife had the brilliant idea that since we have a couple people coming over, that we should make a sourdough that would appeal to particularly the gents that are coming over. So I'm going to be making a bacon cheddar sourdough. It shouldn't be too terribly difficult, and let's check out the ingredients here. So I'm making a loaf that's going to use 500 grams of flour, and this is just a white, strong baker's flour, and I'm going with a 72% hydration. So since this is 500 grams of flour, this is 360 grams or milliliters of filtered water. I'm just going to go ahead, give this a really nice mix up here, and then we will be ready to let it autolyse for an hour or two. And there we go, just mix it up for a quick minute, and now I'm going to scrape off my hands and let this sit here until our leaven is ready. Now, since this is going to be a bacon sourdough, I've just got this is just some cheaper store-bought bacon here, thin. I really like using this stuff when I'm wrapping things or making fatties or whatever with that. And because it's going to crinkle up and do whatever, I'm not worried about the presentation of it because it'll be all chopped anyway. So it's going to fire this into the oven at 350 degrees and wait until it is nice and crispy. All right, so I actually only got about a 45-minute autolyse here before my leaven was definitely ready. It was all nice and super pillowy. I've just got it in this white bucket because it's really easy to clean out. So I'm going to be adding 125 grams of leaven, and that's 25% of the flour weight. There, 94 grams. Perfect. Okay, that was way harder than it looked. It probably looked hard. Okay, so now I'm just moistening my hands with some filtered water here. I'm just driving that leaven down into the dough itself, and I'm just going to sort of pinch and fold to blend and incorporate all of this leaven throughout the dough. I'm taking care not to try and tear the dough too much, just because it will ruin any sort of gluten structure that's already been developed. Okay, so there we are. I'm just going to cover this up with some plastic, and I will let it sit for half an hour, and then we'll add some salt. Okay, so after 30 minutes of letting this leaven start to do its thing, I'm going to add some salt. Now I'm going with 7 grams of salt, so that's 1.4%. So that is a little bit less. Normally I go with 1.8, but because I'm already going to be adding the bacon and cheese, both of which contain salt, I just don't want to sort of overdo it. So I'm just going to go ahead and mix this all in, probably over the next minute or two. Okay, so now I'm just going to cover it back up and let it sit, and then when we come back, we can try to laminate. So after 45 minutes, after adding the salt, I'm now going to go ahead and attempt to add my bacon and my cheddar. So for that, I have 25% each, again, based on the flour weight there, of this bacon, which I let get nice and crispy here, and I've got some cheddar cheese, some medium cheddar cheese that I went ahead and hand grated here. So it's right around 125 grams of each. Now I'm going to try to add this during the lamination, so I'm actually just going to moisten this countertop here a little bit, as well as my hands, and that's just using that filtered water bowl that I've got. I'm going to bring this out here, and I'm going to attempt to get this into a nice, somewhat thin rectangle. So I'm just going to stretch it here as much as I can, just gently, taking care not to accidentally tear the dough. This is all about patience. Just gentle little tugs. Now this certainly does not have to be uniform. Thickness, or even necessarily straight across, I've got a little bit of a curve here. That's no big deal. I will just stretch it a touch more. And the purpose of doing this is so that I can add all these other ingredients here and be able to kind of fold it in really nicely. So there we are. I'm going to start off just going across the middle strip here, the middle third. You just add a decent amount, a hefty amount of that bacon, and the same for this cheese. I've done cheese before and I've usually cubed it in the past. I did find though that the cheese is going to melt no matter what, and my thought process with the cubed cheese was that it would maybe melt a little bit slower, but I did find that it kind of left like little cube-shaped pockets in the bread when all was said and done, which was amusing and certainly didn't bother me, but I realized that I'll just try out this grated cheddar here and see how it's different. Fun little experiment as always. Get more of this bacon in here. A little bit more. And some cheese. And we'll just fold this back up over top here. And put some bacon in the middle third of this row. We're getting right down to the wire. It looks like I've rationed out my ingredients quite nicely. And I'll just fold like so. And then everything else just goes onto here. I could have added this when I was initially mixing the dough, but by doing this, it should keep a little bit more of these ingredients inside the bread as opposed to on the outside. I mean, it's inevitable that some will wind up there, just with stretching and folding and whatever else I wind up doing with this bread. But we'll see what happens. Now that I've got it like that, I am going to kind of just slightly fold over a little bit to kind of help seal that in there. We'll see how this goes. It's really quite firm right now because of all that bacon and stuff, but I'm going to put it back into the bowl and then we're going to give it probably about half an hour and then I'll see what I want to do with it next. All right, so I gave this 45 minutes after that lamination, and I'm just going to see. Yeah, I think because of all this stuff in it, I'm not going to try to stretch and fold it, but I am just going to go ahead and do some coil folding just by kind of going like this and folding it under, coiling it a little bit, helping seal it up. You'll see there was some cheese on the top there. That's just stuff that I knocked out of the bin that I had the cheese in, or the bowl that I had the cheese in before. All right, sweet. So I'm going to give this half an hour and then probably another coil fold. All right, so after another 30-40 minutes here, I'm just going to give it another slight sort of coil folding here. Again, it's difficult with all those fillings in there, but I'll do the best I can. Tuck this back in, and I think that might be my last one. I might give it another look in half an hour just to see, and if I do, I will record that, but otherwise, I might just let this sit until it's fermented. Okay, so I gave this almost 2 hours after that second coil fold there, and now I'm just going to pop it out. Floured my hands ever so lightly. It's really hard to tell when these breads are fully fermented just because when you've got so much like awesome ingredients on the inside, it makes them a little bit firmer and stiffer. However, I'm simultaneously fermenting just a regular sourdough, which was exactly the same except without the bacon or the cheese. So I'm kind of using that one as a bit of a guide just to see how far along this is fermenting. So now I've got this here, I'm just going to cover it up for 5 or 10 minutes, and then I will do a final shaping. Okay, so after, this is actually about 6 minutes here, still relatively holding its shape, and again, I'm not surprised just based on the bacon and the cheese that's in here. Give it a little last final shape, which really doesn't seem to be terribly necessary. I'm going to take my banneton, I'm going to add some rice flour to it, just to prevent any kind of sticking when I go to get this out tomorrow for baking. Then I'm going to wish that I had my bench knife, but apparently one of my children stole it, so I'm just going to go like this and set it on in there. See the bottom of that, we've got some nice bacon and cheddar. So cool, I'm just going to go ahead, wrap this up, fire it in the fridge overnight, and we will bake in the morning. All right, it is the morning of the bake. It is really early, and we got to get this baked before people come over, hence the sweet bathrobe I'm wearing here.
Mike, the sun is gonna come.
Yep, that's, there you go, that's right. So I'm actually going to do both of these breads here. I'm going to grab my sweet blade here. Oh, okay, awesome. Thank you. So I got the oven and the combo cookers preheated at 500 degrees. I'm going to quickly flip. We will give this just a really simple score across here. Still really stiff, kind of hard to cut through with the bacon and everything in there.
Dad, what is this?
Hey, just hang on a second, sweetheart. Well, that's just a little cover for that. And we're going to do the second one. And again, just a little score on this. I think it's time for a new blade in there. Whoop. Okay, watch it, sweetheart. Yeah, it's a razor blade.
Oh, that's fun.
Okay, and then I'm just going to cover these up here. It's the base of the combo cooker. Just like this. And then I'm going to drop the temperature down to 440 and let it sit there for 30 minutes. And then we will uncover. Perfect. Okay, so we have had our 30 minutes. Ooh, it smells awesome. Very bacony. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm just going to uncover those, drop the temperature down to 430, and we'll check on them in 20 minutes. Okay, after 21 minutes, I believe these look like they are done. Woohoo, yeah. Pull this out. Get on my regular sourdough here while I'm at it. Slide out the paper. Woo. Careful, there is some melted fat that came out of that cheese. Yeah, so don't burn yourself with that. Now let's take a closer look. Oh, this looks absolutely divine. Nice little chunks of bacon there. Cheese oozing out. That's beautiful. The hardest part now is just letting this sit and wait. Now, if we want to compare rise, it's actually pretty similar. Although I wonder what this actually would be if it didn't have all that bacon and cheese in there, maybe a touch smaller. But anyway, yeah, so I'm happy with that. Now, let it cool. All right, I was only able to get this an hour. I'm kind of rushing this a little bit, so hopefully everything's nicely set after the bake. Nice and crispy on the outside. Get through the bottom. Bottom is beautiful. Oh, and look on the inside of this here. It smells phenomenal. I can smell that cheddar. There's the bacon. It's all the way through. Oh, a couple of little bigger pockets there. That's all right. This other side here too. Excellent. Okay, time to slice and sample. All right, here we are. Got a little bit of butter on there. Should have maybe toasted it just to crisp everything up a little bit more on the inside, but I can't wait. The smokiness of the bacon, that nice rich cheddar flavor through there, and the bread is so moist. That's fantastic. I want to throw this on a hamburger. Yeah, super delicious bread, really fun for the bacon and cheese lover in the family. So yeah, give it a whirl. Until next time, keep it at 11.